Okay, great and glorious and to be famous one day. Nick Dutch here yet again, discussing pseudoscience, what it is, and why what I'm talking about in all of my videos is not pseudoscience, basically. So far, we've just discovered that so long as we're following the scientific method, we're not within pseudoscience. But we've also got a prejudice against the occult, which, as we pointed out, goes back to the positivistic school of philosophy, which did all kinds of stuff in the 20s and 30s, and has created this train of prejudice against people like me just because it's there. Alright, there isn't actually anything totally scientific in terms of methodology of approach which goes against the occult, as we've also learned from our discussion of anti-positivism and positivism. Okay, now let's go on to see what the rest of Wikipedia is trying to tell us here. Beyond the initial introductory analysis offered in science classes, there are some epistemological disagreements about the extent to which it is possible to distinguish science from pseudoscience. Ha, gotcha. In a reliable and objective way. So if objectivity is something which is really important in science, there is a statement, there's a statement here in black and white and blue to a certain degree here on the Wikipedia website, which points out that it is, there's a certain disagreement, as it says here, about the extent to which it's possible to distinguish science from pseudoscience. So we can still say that we are being scientists so long as we're still approaching the phenomena we're investigating in a scientific way. The term itself has negative connotations because it's used to indicate that subjects so labeled are inaccurately or deceptively portrayed as science, in which case they might not be, as this article is saying. Okay, it's giving us a bit of research leeway. Accordingly, those labeled as practicing or advocating a pseudoscience normally dispute this characterization for obvious reasons, especially if you're not trying to do a pseudoscience, you're just trying to tell people what has happened. God, I'm overtired. Okay. So, there's a lot of interesting points there already. Pseudosciences have been characterized by the use of vague, exaggerated, or untestable claims. Now, if you're trying to find out what is most likely to be true under some circumstances and they go against things which are already accepted by the scientific community, it's going to seem like the claims are being exaggerated, but they might not be. So there's this massive grey area when talking about pseudosciences. It goes on, over-reliance on confirmation rather than refutation, lack of openness to testing by other experts, and lack of progress in theory development. But as I've already mentioned, certain forms of social phenomena and psychological phenomena cannot always be repeated. So, what's going on here? I mean, a sociological study of life in the 1920s couldn't be repeated here in 2009, but it would still be a valid, important study. But you can't say that information, which has been gathered from the 1920s, for example, by example, is completely unvalid. It has validity, it is important, and gives us a bit of extra understanding of the world. All right. According to the philosopher of mathematics and science, Imre Lakatos, the problem of demarcation between science and pseudoscience has grave implications also for the institutionalization of criticism. So institutions will levy their criticism based upon, essentially, prejudice. Because this word, pseudoscience, as this article is demonstrating, is a very, very vague definition, a very unscientific definition, if we're really honest. And it's used as a means of demarcation from prejudice by institutions who are obviously protecting their own point of view. So, the article goes on. In the Soviet Union, the Communist Party declared Mendelian genetics pseudoscientific and had its advocates such as the geneticist academician Nikolai Vavilov sent to the Gulag camps. Mendelian genetics was later rehabilitated after Vavilov died in prison. The party's right to demarcate science from pseudoscience was, however, upheld. Lactos also asserted that the neoliberal establishment of the West also exercises the rights to deny freedom of speech to what it regards as pseudoscience, as we have seen in the case of the debate concerning race and intelligence. So, freedom of speech is actually openly confessed as being controlled, so that a dominant ideology can continue. Obviously, there's rational reasons for that, if what you're trying to suppress is the ideas concerning race and intelligence. That would make sense. But what if we're talking about the debate of the potential benefits to an individual from doing some meditation exercises, for example? The potential medical benefits. I mean, that's a completely different subject altogether. According to Lakatos, the typical descriptive unit of great scientific achievements is not an isolated hypothesis, but a powerful problem-solving machinery which digests anomalies and even turns them into positive evidence. Okay. Okay, I'll keep this one little video short, and then we'll go on talking about pseudoscience, background, and the rest of it, so we can come to a full understanding of what pseudoscience is, and then I'll hopefully be able to demonstrate to you that what I'm not doing is pseudoscience.